Hello, hello, welcome to a new episode. This time, another interview. Welcoming a good friend, Lawrence.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
I'm very happy for you to be here, recording here in Barcelona,
Amazing.
our
Hometown.
hometown.
Amazing. Yeah, our
Nowadays.
base right now. Yeah.
So, Lawrence, to introduce you to the audience,
hmm
who is Lawrence Blut?
Good
Why are
question.
you here?
Yeah,
And the basics questions that brought you here.
good question. Oh man. Right. Let's go. I was thinking about it today, so let's see. Right. I'm Lawrence Blood. I'm everything that's here right now. That's about it. I think we're changing. That's what I was thinking about today. And I was thinking about this when someone asks, "Who are you?" A lot of times we get offended. And it's like, who are you? What do you mean, who am I? Who are you?
Uh-huh.
Right? And it's simple as I'm everything you see right now and everything you'll discover. No?
Okay, yeah, I understand what you mean.
In the most
One
pretentious
reason,
way possible.
one reason you're here today, and that I wanted to have you here is
Yeah.
because we share mainly two things. We
hmm
share our job. That's how
Yeah.
we met,
Yeah.
and something deeper, and that I think is more relevant to me is that we share a passion about growing and
hmm
developing ourselves. I believe.
Yeah.
What do you think about these two topics? What mean to you, and how
Uh,
you connect them?
how do I connect them? I think,
I don't know if I said our job is we are models.
yeah,
That's how we met, and we work
yeah,
together often.
we met in our first show together, which was crazy. And now we're working for the same brand 8 months later,
Yeah,
which is even crazier.
and we live in the same
And we
town.
live in the same town right now, which is crazy. Um, that's a good question, man. Um, I think my my pursuit of personal growth started well before I started modeling.
Uh-huh.
Um, must have started. I think these things don't start at a certain time. I think you're kind of
Uh-huh. You.
made this way, or you grow up this way as a child. Um, modeling came a few years after I'd started wanting to do personal growth. And the interesting thing about modeling is that it gave me a huge amount of confidence, while at the same time really, really challenging who I was and who I saw myself as a person and as a young man. Because I think when you and I started, we were both 18,
Yeah.
19, right? So we were at the cusp of what it was to be, a young man or a teenager in an adult world. And I don't know about you, but I sort of felt this sort of imposed need to grow. I'd suddenly, up until the age of 17,
Mm-hmm.
not particularly competing with anyone. And life isn't particularly a competition, but as soon as you turn 18, 19, 20, and you go to dinner parties and family events, everyone's like, who are you? What are you doing? And it's that question, what are you doing? Who are you?
You have to start putting labels to you.
You have to start putting labels to things, which I think is a way to diminish something, right? As soon as you label it, you put it in a box and you freeze it. I think we're much more dynamic than that. That's back to the question of who are you? I think no fucking clue.
Yeah.
No
Well.
fucking clue. We're
No.
figuring
Yeah.
it out.
Uh-huh.
How about yourself?
No. Yes. What you say about this, especially this world of modeling,
hmm
because most of models are just young
Yeah.
men, but the industry is a really it's an industry of
Yeah.
it's a business, and you
Yeah.
have to be a business person,
Yeah.
so you have to grow and you have to be mature.
hmm
You don't have to, but if you are, it's
Yeah.
much better.
Yeah.
So you're, as you said, you're maybe imposed to grow and to
hmm
push yourself.
Yeah.
So yeah, I also feel this. Yeah, I think uh, I also believe that the results I lived in modeling
Yeah.
were a result of my, as you say, before modeling, cultivating myself.
hmm
So I also feel this.
It's interesting this because from the outside, modeling is only looks. I remember going to big castings for the first time, and looking around and just seeing, you know, what people had that I didn't have, you know, which is quite a sort of,
Comparing.
yeah, deprecative way of comparing myself with other people on a physical plane, which is the most superficial one, yet the most closest to home, I guess, in our field of work. You know, the first thing you see in people is appearance, because that's what you're being judged upon. And then later, I think both of us discovered that if you really want to succeed, if you really want to do well, it goes far beyond looks.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so I think it's crazy because the thing about modeling, I thought I needed to grow personally in order to sort of grow my career as a model or as wherever I wanted to be. And I found out that all of those books or videos or experiences um, basically were like completely crushed and compressed as soon as I started modeling. And I said, right, life isn't particularly what these books say and what these videos and gurus are saying. Modeling really teaches you that. I think it slaps you in the face and it says, hey, you open your eyes or you know.
Yeah, I think, what do you think is a big, clear lesson that you learned the first times you start modeling?
First times I started modeling.
And it's something you want me to talk about before, like something that
Ooh.
is just in your face and you have to,
Big lesson.
you look at it to the eyes and you
Look
say,
it in,
okay, I learned this.
I think we were talking about earlier, no, right?
Exactly,
Everything
yeah.
that's no, that's rejection, that's a closed door, is something we find really hard to deal with. Something we find really hard to deal with as not only models, but as young men, people in general. I think we grow up with this fear of no because we're taught that we have to succeed and we have to fit in, but you can't be seen failing because that is not only a failure of whatever endeavor you've chosen to pursue, but a failure of yourself. It's a flaw, right?
Exactly, yeah. Connect the results to who you are,
Mm-hmm.
and not just a result of a process going on.
Yeah.
Sorry
Completely.
for the noise that is happening right here, but Barcelona is a really
Loud city.
alive city.
Yeah.
So that's it.
Bringing some life into the podcast. Yeah, it's interesting to know. I mean, you really have to get used to it. I was talking to my friend about it the other day, and she's an actress, and she was saying she bloody hates the word no. She said she's had 50 auditions for lead roles in the past year or two. A huge amount of them have been a huge, resounding no, right? And she's like, it's hard to get back up on your feet after you put everything that you have on a tape, on a casting, on an audition, on whatever it may be, because this translates to, you know, your job, to a piece of music, to a piece of art, whatever you're creating, and have someone look at that and say, no, that's not what we want.
Yeah, I think, and here is two main ideas that I felt the first time I experienced this, is that it takes no to get a yes.
Yeah.
And the appreciation of getting to succeed.
Yeah.
To succeed, you need to fail.
You really need to fail. Yeah.
It's part of it.
Yeah.
And also, the other thing is that the teaching, the importance of liking what you do.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you do it because of the result,
oh man,
the first 10, 12, 20 times you get no, you will give up.
You really will give up. Yeah, there's some sort of guiding path that I think we all have within us that really is what makes or breaks you in the sense of the pursuit of what you want. And of course that changes over time. Mm-hmm. That's the whole theme of what we're talking about today. We're not fixed in time. And that's something that I think, by the way, ties perfectly into the no, right? Because at least the way I used to take a no in a casting, say, or you know, a rejection to a university or whatever one can be rejected at our age. Firstly, we don't have a lot to compare a no to, right? I think when you're 40 years old and you can look back and say, or even now, I can look back and say, so many no's I've received that I thought would be the end of whatever I was pursuing. I was like, okay, that's done. That's done. So man, I must have gotten like at least 20 huge no's. No, I'm not talking about like, no, I'm talking about like, no, out, before I actually got something cool in modeling, or something worth having in my personal life. You know, I think the problem with no is that we label it and then we misidentify it. I think we live in a society where someone is not someone's work is not being rejected. It's the person that feels rejected rather than their work. You know, and it takes a really big shift to realize, and I think that's what you and I have had to realize, that you as a human being are not being rejected. Firstly, because it's utterly impossible to know you entirely as a human being. Secondly, because you're always changing. So how can I say no to you in the future, or no to a past version of you? I don't know you. I don't know what you're going to be like. The biggest thing is we attach ego to no, right? So it's again what I was saying. You get rejected from a huge, casting director. Let's not drop any names, and I think we both have enough times been rejected to know this. And I remember the first times it was like, man, I'm not enough. I'm not tall enough. I'm not tall enough. I'm 6'2". And I was thinking, oh man, you're not tall enough. You know what I mean? I'm not tall enough. I'm not handsome enough, which is what, a young model thinks it's all about looks, which it isn't, of course.
Something came to me with this idea of taking rejections personally. And I think this is a consequence that nowadays many people have, because you don't know who you are.
Yeah.
Because the moment you know who you are, you know, I am my past, I'm my future, I'm everything I am, but I know that I am this. So when they reject me, they are not rejecting me because I know who I am. They are rejecting this action or this result, but it's not exactly me because I know who I am. And it's like when you don't know who you are and they reject you, you think you are that rejection.
Yeah, completely. Yeah.
But if you know who you are, you understand that rejection is to your action or to your something outside of you, but not 100% you, because you know who you are, and not a simple rejection.
Yeah.
So this came to me. So the worth of knowing who you are, and once you know who you are, you don't need no approval from outside.
Completely.
So
completely, and I think that's a big thing that ties into the no. It's exactly what you're saying. We attach our identity and our ego to our work, whatever we're placing and giving to the outside world to be criticized or accepted or rejected. We don't place our work, we place ourselves on that pedestal to be judged. And of course, when you do that and someone says no, of course we're hurt because we feel we're being rejected as people.
Exactly.
And the problem is we bind our ego to ownership, to the work, to whatever, again, we're creating. And for example, something I'm studying right now is acting, right? I've been really passionate about it since I was 8 years old, right? And I remember the first acting class I did, my first scene, I was like, this is easy, man. I'm smashing this. I go up on stage, I open my mouth, I just froze for like 10 seconds. Suddenly I remember my lines. I start doing it. I see people's faces as I'm doing the scene, and it's just like, oh, no, man, that is not it. And that was a moment which was a pretty big slap in the face, because something I thought I was talented at and naturally gifted at proved to be something that I had to work to be good at, right? And that was a big no. And I put I thought my identity, my skill, my talent was being dismissed. I've now realized that to be a good actor, you really, really, really have to do so many bad scenes and so many mistakes to really know what it takes to do something well. And there's no possible way of achieving a yes without 100 no's in advance. And it's those no's that you're going to take and transform into a yes. So that no is, in a sense, a blessing. It's a correction on your path. And you can either take that as a right, that's not where I should be aiming for. Let me deviate towards there, and that's the right path. Or you could say, hey, I trust what I'm doing. It's what you're saying, that sort of connection to purpose. I trust what I'm doing is right. I like what I'm doing. I'm going to stay on this path. And you can dismiss the no and continue. But I think it is all based on a growth mindset, which is something we hear so much in the personal development world,
Mm.
which essentially is just, in layman's terms, knowing that you are not fixed, that you are always changing, you can always improve, you can always gain as well as you can always lose whatever you have right now. So it comes with this sort of detachment from ego and just saying, hey, this is what I am now,
The process.
right? It's a
The
process.
process is everything.
It's a process. You know, a cook doesn't prepare a dish and cut his finger off and put it on the dish. You know, he's not adding himself to the dish. It's an extension of him at a certain time. So why shouldn't everything be like that? You know?
Exactly.
How do you see it?
Yeah, 100% is,
Yeah.
is letting go the result and having remind. I think one part of for me, something essential is to remind myself every day what
Yeah.
my basics for life for living are.
Yeah.
If for me the process is everything, I try to repeat it every day to me because when the moment comes, I need that specific thought to think it's only the process. The process is everything. Relax. I need it to be like instant.
Yeah.
And that's what changes your mindset and the way you feel.
Yeah.
So that one side, and on the other, I wanted to do a question.
Yeah.
What do you think? How important is the role of authenticity
Authenticity.
in modeling and in life? And how important is it? And yes, what does it represent to you?
I think it is huge. I think it's huge. I've been reading a book recently by a Canadian doctor, and he talks about child development, and he says there's 4 huge things that a child needs to adequately develop. Ideally, of course, a lot of people don't have this, including myself. I don't have the 4 things. I've got great parents, and one of the biggest things is the right to self, the right to be authentic. This is something that comes very silent growing up. You know, you always want to fit in, and it's interesting because, you know, up until the age of 17, 18, I always wanted to fit in. I didn't want to be noticed. I didn't want to be seen. And then suddenly, I think it was right after COVID, I changed and I was like, hey, I'm not this. You know, I'm not this box that I've put myself in. And once I sort of stepped out of it and truly learned that I could be myself and I could, again, make mistakes and still be myself, I became very free. But what I was getting at with authenticity is it's enormous, and something I've really learned recently, which is I think the biggest thing that modeling has taught me so far, is that people have an energy about them. Whether you believe in energies or spirituality, whatever you want to call it, people have something to them, un aire, we say in Spanish, ¿no? La gente tiene su propio aire, su propio aura.
It's your energy,
right?
Specific frequency.
Exactly, people have this sort of frequency, and you put this out constantly, whether you know it or not, you know, and you can see it in anyone who walks down the street. You can see posture, you can see whether they're rushing, whether someone's in a good or in a bad mood, right? And again, this energy is not fixed, but I entered the world of modeling. At the same time, I entered the world of adulthood. At the same time, I entered sort of my first relationship, which is where I felt everything, my identity was being put on trial, not only professionally, not only in my studies, not only in my personal and romantic life. I was being assessed, I was being watched. And modeling is very interesting because it says, hey, you know, hey, you 18-year-old boy, come over here. We'll take a look at you and let you know if you're fit for the job. Right? The 18-year-old boy, of course, thinks, right, if I get a no, I'm not fit for the job, I'm not enough. Whereas a casting director is thinking, right, I need someone that looks exactly brown eyes, this, that, Mediterranean look, this height, and that doesn't fit too big because the garment that he's modeling is going to be very tight and it's very specific. So you're not being judged on looks, you're being judged on so much more that you don't see. Authenticity, to go back to your question, for me was the biggest lesson in the sense that I started modeling, I started my relationships, I started my adult life trying to fit in, trying to please other people, whether it was trying to look a certain way or to look better or dress better or be funny or smarter or have a bigger job or a bigger wallet. You know, something that modeling really taught me was that we put this energy out of need, of negative aspiration when we're not being authentic, and people can sense disingenuity like that. You can smell it. It's an energy. right? And I think even when I started doing the Gucci casting where we met at, I remember being so intimidated and trying to be so
Perfect.
perfect and calm and likable and agreeable. And this is, of course, something that changes, and I'm 20 years old, and I'm sure that by the time I'm 40, I'm going to be completely different than I am now. But to get back to authenticity, um, I learned that you put an energy out, and that's once you realize that it's only you who truly has the power to judge yourself, and it's at the end of the day, you're going to sleep by yourself and you're waking up by yourself, regardless of if someone's next to you. You are the person who decides how your day went, the person who decides how you feel, how you don't feel, right? Um,
So yeah, it's about being in peace with who you are.
it's about being in peace with who you are. And I think the lesson, or the time I realized this lesson, I remember I was 19. I was living in Milan and studying there. I'd been working as a waiter a couple of months before, right, while I was studying, being paid 8, 9, 10 euros an hour. And I got a call from my agent, and they were like, "Hey, Hermes wants to book you for an ecom," which was the biggest job I'd ever done. Right, e-commerce is the photo shoot that gets put onto the website of Hermes, in this case, on the Instagram and all of this stuff. And I was like, "Okay, cool." She said they pay this much, and I was like,
It moves
"Are
everything.
you sure?"
Your structure.
It completely shifts the idea of what you think is possible. Long story short, fast forward, I'm in Paris. I'm in a beautiful hotel in a nice area. I'm being fed. I'm being pampered. I've got makeup on. I've got the most expensive clothing on. I'm being paid to look how I am. I'm being paid to be myself. However, I felt everything but myself on set. And I remember looking in the mirror as the team was waiting, because I had this sort of bathroom break. The team was waiting for me to go back to shoot, and thinking, I have everything 18-year-old Lawrence could have ever wanted, right? I'm being paid to be myself, to look the way I look. I'm being told I'm handsome, um, and I'm being treated amazingly. Um, but I felt so unfulfilled, right? And I felt like I was someone else in my own body, and that up to that point, of course, I'm myself with my friends, and when I'm comfortable with people. But in this world of modeling, I was putting myself on trial and trying to show the best part of myself. So doing this job, I remember looking in the mirror and being like, man,
Recognize
I don't see
myself.
you, man. Yeah, I don't recognize you. I don't know who's looking back in the mirror. Um, and I don't want to be like this. You know, if I'm gonna get a job, I'm gonna get it because I am me
Myself.
and myself. That also helped me shift what I thought was important before, which was, as a child, as a teenager, you want money, you want a cool job, you wanna get looks from pretty girls at the club, and not many things more, right?
Yeah.
I remember thinking, right, money isn't the answer, right? Because I've got all the money I could ask for. Of course, not a huge amount, but all the money a
More than
19-year-old boy could ask for, I had at that moment. And I remember thinking, man, this isn't it. This really isn't it.
And what from that point where what you are talking about and from where you are now, what switched and what changed on you inside you?
So, I think that's a great question, because that's what I've been thinking about a lot recently. I think I've had a very recent change in which I think I've always been quite gregarious and quite outgoing, but to an extent. Um, I'd be at castings talking and chatting, no problem. Um, which that I think helped me open the door, talking to new people and seeing that people could have cool jobs, like being a stylist or a director, or you could be a model and travel the world and wear nice clothes. Which when I was 18 and I saw, people like, I remember seeing Joshua Thompson, our friend, Mr. Margella, and I remember seeing him in the casting. This guy is cool. This guy is awesome, man. Oh my god, wow, to be like him. And uh, I think the moment that changed was when my energy, which is what we were talking about, switched from I need you, so I need this job, I need
The money, I need
this
the reward, I
money,
need the
I
girls,
need
whatever.
this, yeah, I need this girl, I need this, to listen, I'm changing, I'm doing my best, things are going right, and I'm probably doing quite I'm doing all right because my life is going like I'd like it to be. So I'm not doing things wrong, and every day I'm getting a bit better. And of course, this has taken me years to get to this point.
You connected with this of the process. It's
I
going
connected
well.
with this process, and of course, it takes a lot of hard work to attain that confidence. And it's been, I've had to learn to dress. I've had to learn to groom myself. I've had to learn to talk and present myself in a sort of adult and professional world, especially one like fashion, which is so not superficial, but visual, right?
Yeah.
You are what you see.
The aesthetic and
Aesthetic, right? So it does take a lot of work to get to that point of confidence, and I think it takes a lot of failure. I think failure is what took me to where I am now, because realizing that I could get 5 no's in a row from 5 biggest modeling agencies in London and think, right, that's it, done. I'm going to go back home. And then the following year, getting offers from big agencies in London, and then going to work with big agencies in London that some of them that said no to me at the start ended up saying yes to me a year later. And I was like, I haven't changed. I haven't changed. What's changed is them. So I wasn't being told no. It's they were saying no to whatever paradigms they had to judge me.
We talked before. And
Yeah.
so, and you asked, we were talking about yesterday how some point to touch here, and this process of growing. You asked me if it was more like for the result,
Yeah.
or for the wanting to achieve something,
Yeah.
or just for the fun and for the process.
Yeah.
Like, I want to play the guitar like we are doing both now.
Yeah.
Do we want to do it because I want to look like a cool guy who plays the guitar, or because I'm enjoying the process, I'm learning, and I'm on the process of learning? And I think this is the engine.
Yeah.
What's your engine to grow?
Yeah.
And the focus you give it, I think it's everything. If you
Check,
do it
yeah.
for external results, or if you do it for internal growth, that's a big part.
This ties perfectly to the authenticity, you see when someone needs something or craves something, and when they don't. And when they don't, that energy changes completely. Professionally, romantically, in your personal life, when you don't need someone or something, you can truly be authentic. You can truly be yourself, and it takes a lot to be able to accept oneself. And that's the biggest thing that it takes to truly stop needing to say, "Hey, I'm enough now." I could always grow, I could always learn, but I am fundamentally enough as a human being right now.
Yeah.
I've got everything I need.
I think it's very
Right.
clear. Yeah.
That's a path to personal growth. I think what we were talking yesterday about how we live in a society that says, hey, you need to change, you need to grow, you need to be better, you need this. You're not something until you get that job, or you get that money, or you get that status, right? You are not enough until you prove everyone that you are, right? And then on the other side, we have this sort of therapeutic approach which says, no, stop right now. You are enough as you are. I remember the first time someone was like, hey, you're enough as you are. And I was like, what do you mean? I haven't done this, I haven't done that. What are you talking about, man? I need to change this. And my therapist said, hey, you are enough as you are. And I remember saying no, and kept repeating it and repeating it and repeating it until I got to a point where I was like,
Maybe yes.
Maybe, yeah. Like, maybe I don't need all of these things that I thought I needed, which is again what that Hermes job taught me, that I don't need that money, I don't need that status, I don't need that approval, right? It's interesting though, because it's a bit of a hypocritical world, the one of self-improvement and therapy, because when it comes together, one side again, you don't need to change, you're enough, you're perfect. On the other side, you're not enough, you need to change. I think the idea is meeting it in the middle.
That's the balance.
What? Yeah.
I think the inner, you can have an inner I'm enough, and an outside world of I'm growing.
Yeah,
But
completely.
you have to always be connected to that frequency.
You have to be rooted. Yeah.
I'm good, I'm enough.
Yeah.
But as I'm good and I'm enough, I have energy, I have hands, I have imagination to create, to have fun, and you move forward. But the engine it's a game, let's play.
Yeah.
But not of I need to win this. It's more like amusement.
Completely. Yeah.
Peaceful.
It's the endeavor, it's the road in the end that is what actually teaches you, rather than I think we've both been quite fortunate to see what society calls success at a young
Yeah.
age, and see that that isn't, you know, that isn't the objective of
Yeah.
personal growth, isn't that success that we strive for, and it's made us change what we value. And I think what we value both now is growth.
Exactly.
What I wanted to ask you though is
who you are.
who you are, and it's
Yeah, there is a. I think we concluded pretty well the connection of both
yeah
subjects, and as an extra
Yep.
item of the podcast,
Yeah.
you have now the possibility to ask me any question related or not to the topic we talked.
hmm
Any question
Right.
that you would like to ask and to go deeper.
I want to ask you if you can say if you could say anything to young Martin
Uh-huh.
at the age that you most needed to be told something, what would it be? How would you do it? You know, and what words would you use for young Martin to believe what you're saying?
Yeah.
You know,
I believe. I think to me, like to you, the pandemic was a changing point,
Yeah.
and something that I would tell me before even the pandemic, it would be, it's everything inside. Like the outside world we see, what we experiment, everything is a reflection of who you are inside, what you are cultivating inside.
Mhm.
So I would say to myself, silence the world outside, take a moment, and see inside what you have inside, and cultivate that.
Mhm.
What you want to have, when you want to see outside,
Yeah.
cultivate it inside you,
Yeah.
and that's your only task.
hmm
After that, everything will flourish, and you will see the results. But your task is to go inside.
Do you think you'd believe that? How would you convince yourself to do that at a young age? Would you say, hey, go and fail, go and do this, go and pursue that thing and attain it, so then you can realize that it's all inside, right?
Yeah,
Because if you told me that at 17, I'd be like, hey,
true.
stop talking, man.
Yeah, it's true.
I'm going to go and try and buy a BMW by the time I'm 19. Otherwise, I'm not successful,
It's true.
right?
No, yeah, it's true, because people learn either because of failure or because
Yeah.
of inspiration.
Yeah.
So I think I would say that, but it probably wouldn't work.
hmm
But that's what I have to say.
Yeah.
Because that when Martin would go and fail, he would remember, oh, what my future Martin told me, it was true.
Yeah.
And then it would be the
Mhm.
thing.
There's a quote about this
Uh-huh.
that someone, I can't remember who told me yesterday, which is insanely beautiful. And it's, we look for other people to fill us. We look for other people to complete us, when the very people we're expecting will fill us or complete us are not complete in themselves. Right? So we're trying to patch up a sort of hole, a void that we have in ourselves with someone else who has the same hole. Right? So
Yeah,
you're not patching a lot at the end of the day.
What they don't have.
They can't give you what they don't have. So the answer does lie in, you know, find that for yourself. Let go of other people, let go of need, to recap what we've been talking about, and just find it in yourself. See what you value. Ask yourself why you value certain things or certain attributes, and how you can grow towards that. And then recognize that you are enough as you are. And when you get to that point, it's like you're reborn. It's truly like you're reborn, because you put out an energy to the world that says, I don't need you. I choose you. I want you, but I don't need you. And that, in every aspect of our lives, is what attracts authentic people, authentic opportunities, and truth. You can live in truth like that,
Yeah.
you know.
When you
Whereas
change, everything changes.
everything changes, you know. But yeah,
This is a beautiful
it's a beautiful topic, huh?
Yeah, beautiful topic and beautiful way to finish.
Yeah.
Did you have fun?
I had a lot of fun. Thanks for having me.
Great.
It's an honor.
It was
It's
a
an
pleasure,
honor.
Lawrence.
Big pleasure.
So we can say goodbye to the audience. Thank you
Goodbye,
for being
audience.
here. Thank you for watching, listening, and growing with us. Bye bye.
Ciao, ciao.